The ongoing conflict in Myanmar has reached a pivotal moment as the Arakan Army continues its relentless campaign against the junta military, fundamentally reshaping the balance of power in the western frontier state of Rakhine. Recent developments highlight the critical nature of their struggle, the far-reaching implications for both regional geopolitics and international interests. As of August 2025, the Arakan Army has claimed to make extraordinary territorial gains by seizing control of 14 out of 17 townships in the Rakhine State. This represents nearly 80% of the state's territory and positions the Arakan Army as the dominant force in Myanmar's strategically vital western region. The group has declared its unwavering commitment to completely liberate the entire Rakhine State, pledging to drive out junta forces from the remaining areas including the capital city, the strategic port of Chok Piu and other important townships. First, let's talk about the recent flare-up. Attack on Myanmar's railway infrastructure has become a tragic hallmark of the current conflict, exemplified by the recent bombing of the 125-year-old bridge in the southern Shah state. On August 24, 2025, this World Heritage Railway Bridge, once the highest railway bridge, was destroyed, the fighting between the two sides. The bridge's destruction highlights the broader pattern of the infrastructure attacks that have characterized Myanmar's civil war. While the junta claims that TNLA deliberately destroyed the historic structure with explosives, on the other hand, the TNLA representatives counter that junta drone strikes targeted their position accidentally, hitting the very bridge. This 2,260-foot-long bridge had connected Mandalay to the northern Shah state and served as a both vital transportation link and a symbol of Myanmar's colonial heritage. Now let's talk about why the western frontier holds immense strategic value. In fact, it holds strategic value for both Arakan Army and Myanmar's junta, serving as crucial battleground with implication extending far beyond Myanmar's border. For the Arakan Army, Rakhine State represents the ancestral homeland of the Arakanese people, where they seek to restore sovereignty and establish great autonomy after claiming decades of marginalization under central government rule. The region's control of the entire 270-long-kilometer border with Bangladesh provides the Arakan Army with strategic leverage and territorial legitimacy. For the junta military, losing Rakhine means forfeiting control over critical economic assets and strategic infrastructure. In fact, the state houses vital oil and gas pipelines connecting to China. In fact, it also houses the strategically important Chok Piu Deep Sea Port project worth $7.3 billion and a gateway to the Bay of Bengal. These installations are central to China's Belt and Road Initiative and represents billions of dollars in Chinese investment designed to provide Beijing with direct access to the Indian Ocean while bypassing the vulnerable Malacca Strait checkpoint. In fact, this explains why both nations are on high alert. Now let's give you a historical perspective of this entire conflict. The Arakan Army's fierce resistance stems from the deep-rooted grievances against the Myanmar's military systematic oppression of ethnic minorities. Since Myanmar's independence, various ethnic groups including the Arakanese have been allegedly deprived of fair representation and also control over their natural resources. The military's brutal tactics, including the 2017 genocide against the Rohingya population, have further alienated local communities and strengthened support for Arakan Army's cause. The Arakan Army serves as the military wing of the United League of Arakan. In fact, they have capitalized on these grievances through declaration of the Way of Rakhine and Arakan Dream in 2019, which resonated deeply with the people there on the ground. Unlike previous Arakanese organizations, the Arakan Army has successfully mobilized mass support by presenting itself as a defender against what locals perceive as an occupying force. Now, the dramatic shift in control over Rakhine has placed both China and India on heightened alert as their substantial investments and strategic interests face uncertainty. First, let's talk about China. China's concerns center on protecting its massive infrastructure projects, particularly the Chokpu port and China-Myanmar oil and gas pipeline that carries approximately 5% of China's crude oil imports. In fact, Beijing has attempted to broker peace between the Arakan Army and the junta, but has found its leverage over the Arakan Army more limited compared to other ethnic armed groups near the Chinese border. Now let's talk about India. India faces an equally complex challenge with its $484 million Kalandan multimodal transit transportation project at risk. The Arakan Army's control of the Palitwa township in the neighboring Chin state, which borders northeastern India, directly impacts the crucial connectivity project designed to link India with Southeast Asia. In fact, India's strategic concerns have intensified as the Arakan Army's territorial gains could affect the balance of power in the Bay of Bengal and potentially also compromises India's access routes to this very region. It's not just India and China. Bangladesh is also holding talks aimed at addressing the Rohingya refugee crisis, even as fresh arrivals cross over from war-torn Myanmar and shrinking aid flows deepen the crisis. As the Arakan Army consolidates its control over Rakhine State and prepares for what may be the final assault on remaining junta strongholds, the international community watches closely and also very nervously. The group's success has already reshaped Myanmar's civil war dynamics and could ultimately lead to the emergence of a de facto autonomous Rakhine State. For China and India, the challenge lies in adapting their strategies to engage with the new realities on the ground while protecting their substantial investments and strategic interests in the critical corner of Indo-Pacific region. The battles raging in Myanmar's western frontier represents far more than a local ethnic conflict. They constitute a fundamental realignment of regional power that will reverberate across South and Southeast Asia for years to come. Well, as the Arakan Army moves closer to achieve its goal of complete liberation, the world must grapple with the implications of this dramatic transformation in one of Asia's most strategically significant regions.